Okay, good morning, everyone. It's February the 9th, the morning of, and it's a very nice day outside for a change, not too cold. Nice day. And I am with Bob Trammell, who is one of our candidates for Attorney General. Mr. Trammell, how are you this morning?
I'm doing great. Thanks for the opportunity to be with you.
Thank you for doing this. Like I said, it's part of a series of all the candidates that we're doing, and so glad to have you. Let's see, and just briefly, where you're from, what county is it?
So I live in Meriwether County. I'm from the
Meriwether. Okay, Meriwether. Yeah.
one traffic light town of Luthersville, Georgia, which is about 800 people.
Well, you're about same with me. I live in a community. We're about that big, so I understand that a lot. In fact, let's go ahead. What I typically do at the beginning is get the candidates just to give a little background for themselves, whatever you think is relevant for voters to know. So, family, history, whatever you want. So I'm going to turn the video over to you now and let you do that.
Well, thank you again for the chance to be with you this morning. My name is Bob Trammell, and I'm from the one traffic light town of Luthersville, Georgia. It's the town that I've spent most of my life in. I spent most of my growing up here, and for the last 23 years, I came home and I have practiced law here, the first lawyer to have a law office in the city of Luthersville. It's the town where my father's family is from, and in fact, my law office is the old family farmhouse that my grandparents lived in, where my father and his siblings grew up. And my wife Jenny is a pharmacist in Newnan. She works at the Cancer Hospital, the City of Hope in Newnan, and we're raising our three children here in Luthersville. Mary, Virginia, and Bob, ages 13, 11, and 7. I went to the University of Georgia to college, and after the University of Georgia, I went to the University of Virginia School of Law. When I graduated, I clerked in the United States District Court in the Atlanta Division and the Newnan Division for a federal judge for 2 years, and then I went to work at the law firm of King and Spalding in Atlanta for a few years before I moved home and had opened my law practice and have been here for 23 years, largely representing people and small businesses in the most momentous legal challenges of their lives, and we work to help them. So it's a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you. It sounds like a lovely place to live. I love small towns and that atmosphere you get out of them. So I do appreciate that a lot. Thank you for sharing that. So tell us why you're running for Attorney General of the whole state of Georgia.
Well, I think everyone can, if you watch the news since Trump was inaugurated for the second time in 2025, we've seen repeated assaults on institutions that underpin our democratic republic. We've seen assaults on things like the free press. We've seen assaults on the judiciary and the rule of law. We've seen assaults on universities. In most recent weeks, we have seen just naked assaults on important constitutional rights enshrined in the Bill of Rights. Our First Amendment rights are under attack. Our Second Amendment rights are under attack.
Right.
Our Fourth Amendment rights are under attack, and our Sixth Amendment rights are under attack. And simply put, 2026 is a year where we are going to have to aggressively push back and stand up and fight for our rights. And this is a challenge, frankly, that I think everyone, no matter whether you're engaging the political process as a candidate, which is what I decided, or whether you're engaging the political process as a voter or volunteer, it's going to take all of us to stand up and push back to save our constitutional republic and protect our constitutional rights and our democracy. And
Okay. Yeah.
that's why I'm running, because our institutions are simply too important, and our constitutional freedoms and protections are simply too important to sit on our hands in this time. And so we need an attorney general who will stand for the rule of law, make life more affordable for Georgians, and defend the Constitution. And that's why I'm running.
Right. And I think historian Timothy Snyder says institutions don't defend themselves. We have to do that, that part. And thank you for stepping up to do that. Yeah, they're pretty much the entire Bill of Rights seems to be under assault right now, including the Second Amendment, ironically enough. So let's see. So now the Attorney General's office, as I understand it, has a lot of broad functions. As far at the state level, I mean, it's the state's legal counsel. You go after crime, corruption, protecting consumers, all that stuff. So, in those broad terms, what are the most important areas for you as the next Attorney General of the state?
Right. Well, simply speaking, the job of the Attorney General is to protect Georgians. And there are a lot of important functions in the role of the Attorney General. But I think that if I had to pick one, is that the Attorney General in the next term, so the newly elected Attorney General, is going to have a challenge that has been presented in recent weeks squarely in front of us, and that is fighting to protect the right to vote of all Georgians. After the Federal Bureau of Investigation raided and seized ballots at the Fulton County Elections Hub, I mean, Trump has clearly telegraphed that he intends to do whatever it takes to undermine the right to vote of over 1 million Georgians in Fulton County and mess with the elections process. And we can't ignore when something like that happens. It sort of changes what the historical duties of an attorney general are. And we have to be cognizant of the moment in time that we're in, which is one where literally the federal administration is running roughshod over not only individuals' rights, but they actively seek conflict with state and local governments. And the attorney general is going to be on the front lines of that fight. So there are many, many important functions and roles that the attorney general plays. But if I had to pick one, it's being prepared to go to court each and every time that the Trump administration tries to overreach and infringes the right to vote, infringes constitutional protections of Georgians. And that's what I see first and foremost as the thing that the attorney general is going to be in position to do, and that we're going to have to be prepared to do on day one.
Maybe, I mean, this is speculative. Maybe, but you know more about this than I do. Ever since that raid in Fulton County, I've been wondering exactly what do they want out of that? What was it they were thinking they were going to get? Do you have any ideas on what their ultimate goal? Well, I mean, it's a show of force or whatever you want to say, but is there specific information that they're looking for to use in some way, do you think, or is it just a show?
Well, what they're seeking to do is, a couple of things. I mean, one, they want to create this climate of fear and intimidation
Okay.
when it comes to
Right.
the voting process.
Right.
And election workers, we all know election workers, they're some of the most important people to holding together our constitutional republic. And
Right.
they do amazing work each and every time we hold an election, whether it's a presidential election or whether it is a local election for mayor and city council, or whether it is a local referendum on a sales tax to support schools or support county and city projects. But let's be clear about what the historical roots of something like happened in Fulton County are. There is a long history in Georgia of efforts to disenfranchise voters. And it took many, many forms in statute, in legal. But one thing that this has distinct echoes of, and you can even hear it in the way that Trump talks about elections in the electoral process, it goes all the way back to the county unit system in Georgia, where you had a mechanism to literally disenfranchise voters who lived in urban population centers
Right.
and so that their vote counted less. And so it's no mystery that Trump has tried to inject uncertainty and chaos into the most populous state in Georgia, into the most populous county in the state of Georgia, one of the most diverse uh, counties in the state of Georgia, and the cradle of the civil rights movement. Um,
Right.
and we have to uh, engage to fight to protect the right to vote of those million plus people who live in Fulton County, Georgians. And the other thing that I want to say is that the inaction on the present attorney general while all this is going on is just unfathomable. Because, literally the attorney general, before the trucks rolled out and backed up to take those seized ballots somewhere, should have been in federal court filing for relief and asking a federal judge to stop what was going on. If for no other reason than literally the right to vote of a million Georgians is under assault on our watch. And so
Right.
while Fulton County has taken action as it should, the state of Georgia should be right there because literally almost a tenth of our population is directly impacted, and all of Georgia is impacted in the sense that he's clearly signaled that he being Trump, that in 2026, Georgia is going to be the front line when it comes to protecting the right to vote and protecting the legitimacy of elections themselves and having elections where the candidate that wins the most votes is the candidate who ultimately serves in elected office. And
Right.
it's crazy after what we watched in 2020. All the charades and the mechanisms that started out as these just absolutely frivolous attempts to undermine confidence in the election, where 60 federal courts held over and over again that Trump was the loser, and multiple hand recounts here in Georgia to validate the election results that Trump lost. And Republican elected officials whose job it is to oversee the election process in Georgia and to make certification of the elections, and specifically the presidential elections, have said repeatedly that Trump lost. And yet
Right.
here we are 6 years later with Trump weaponizing the Federal Bureau of Investigation to come back in Fulton County. So the fight is right here in our backyard, and we've got to be prepared to fight it.
Thank you. It's it just puzzles me. I mean, but uh, after January 6th, I didn't see how any of this would be possible. Yet, like you said, here we are again. So, but thank you for that. It is an issue that we have to stay on, probably number one on the hit list of things to look after. So, thank
Because
you
if
for
you
pointing that
lose,
out.
if you lose and we all know this, I mean,
Right.
if we lose the ability to elect our officials, and we have, a federal takeover of what's supposed to be a state administered and locally administered elections process, everything else, flows from that process in a
Right.
democratic republic. And the rule of law is the backbone of literally every transaction that happens in our country every day for commerce or everything else. And if we lose that and we lose that certainty and the ability to rely on that, everything else could literally fall apart.
True. Okay, so let's in a little broader sense. What do you think? What are your advantages that you bring to the table here, uh, running for Attorney General? That I'm not even going to say, compare yourself to your opponent. Just what strengths do you have that you think make you the best choice for Attorney General?
Well, look, we're building a campaign to hold the Trump administration accountable, and I'll speak to my experience. My experience has been one of in the legislature. I was elected and served in the State House of Representatives. And 4 of those years, I served as Democratic leader. I was served as Democratic leader after Stacey Abrams when she left to run for governor. And in the process of being Democratic leader, we fought every day for Georgians on things like trying to get better health care and more accessible health care for Georgians through Medicaid expansion. We fought for things like clean water against corporate polluters. And we fought to protect the right to vote. We fought for reproductive freedom for women. And each and every year in the General Assembly, there was always a challenge that sought to undermine the rights of Georgians. And we were on the front line of trying to protect Georgians in those fights. And I'm battle tested. I represented a district in the General Assembly, and I was the only Democrat in the General Assembly for whom this is true. My district, while they elected me to the State House, they also voted for Donald Trump for president, and they voted for Brian Kemp for governor. So I'm a Democrat who knows how to win in places in Georgia where Democrats don't normally win. And that's the exact type of message and outreach that we need to win Georgia, because we have to have a coalition of not only Democrats, but independents and disaffected Republicans to put together in 2026, because the stakes are just too important for us not to be in that. And so not to have the ability to assemble that coalition. And that's what elections are. Elections are putting together a coalition of Georgians who have Georgia's best interests at heart and who will protect Georgians. And that's what we intend to do.
I think this probably gets a little bit into my next question too. I was going to ask you just broadly about, well, not just the primary, but let's say you win and go on to the general election. Coordinated campaigns are something that Democratic Party of Georgia has had some, well, let's just say we've had mixed results on them. We've had some good years and some bad. What do you think is the key for a coordinated campaign? If you're a part of it, you're going to be one of the higher up offices on the ticket. What do you think we need to do as a party to win this thing statewide this year?
Well, look, we have to do exactly what some of what I just talked about, right? Which
Right,
is assemble a coalition of voters, not only Democrats, but independents and disaffected Republicans. But that's the who. There's also a geographic component to this, and the geographic component to this is that we have to be prepared to go all over Georgia, 159 counties, in places where are small towns like the one I live in.
right.
Because we have to engage all the voters in all over Georgia, no matter what the zip code is, because that's the secret sauce, is putting together that coalition. And this is what I know about Georgia. I mean, I other than the time that I spent in law school in Virginia, I've been in Georgia my whole life. Georgians are fundamentally good people. And even for Georgians who may disagree with us politically, they do not want to see a federal government that is literally going without warrants, kicking in people's doors, taking 5-year-olds and holding them in detention centers without due process. Georgians are not mean-spirited. Georgians are not cruel. Growing up in a small community, you learn certain values like looking after your neighbor and protecting the most vulnerable in our society. And today's poisonous politics is just the opposite of that. It seeks to try to pit people against one another, and instead of looking out and protecting the most vulnerable, at times it seems like they're almost trying to prey upon the most vulnerable with policy. But Georgians do not want a government that does that. And so if we're able to go out in communities and talk about good fundamental Georgia values like looking after our neighbor and protecting the most vulnerable, we're going to win overwhelmingly in 2026 up and down the ballot.
Yeah, I think so. The seeing the results of all these elections lately has been amazing. We're in the middle of a special election up here right now for Congress, and the fact that we're actually have a chance to win up here is saying something. I mean, it says something to the climate that we're in. I think a good statewide campaign that reaches everywhere is something we can really, you know, turn into a success, I think. So, yeah, I totally agree with that. So we've kind of looked over your positions, your philosophy, if you will, what's important, a little bit of the politics. Typically, what I do as we sort of wrap these up, I give the candidate a chance to give the voters a 1 to 2 minute stump speech. Like, if you're in front of everybody, this is why you should vote for me to be the next attorney general. So I'm going to close out and let you do that. Tell us and summarize for us why you should be the next attorney general of the state.
Well, as I said, I'm Bob Trammell. I'm from a one traffic light town in Georgia. And I've grown up with values like protecting the most vulnerable and looking out for our neighbor. And one thing that recent weeks have shown us with the murders of Renee Good and Alex Preddy is that in 2026, we have to vote like our lives depend on it because they absolutely do. We need an attorney general who will stand for the rule of law, make life more affordable for Georgians, and defend the Constitution. And that's what I'll do as attorney general. I'll wake up every day to fight to make sure that we are protecting Georgians. And the last thing I want to say is this. 2026 up and down the ballot, but especially true in the attorney general's race, there is a very important central question. Are we going to elect leaders who are loyal to the Constitution and who will defend the rule of law? Or are we going to elect followers who wait for the phone to ring to pick up and let Donald Trump give them instructions and be loyal only to one person? We live in the United States of America, and we know the answer to this question, that we need elected officials who will uphold and defend the Constitution and fight for the rule of law. And that's exactly what I'll do as Attorney General. You can go to my website, ask everyone who's interested in following our campaign or helping this campaign to hold the Trump administration accountable to go to my website, which is bobtrammell.com, and sign up for information and volunteer because we need everyone in this fight. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to talk to you today.
And I'm thankful that you stopped by with us today to do that. I appreciate that your time. I know you've got about probably 1,000 things to do and 600,000 places to go and all of that stuff. So I appreciate the time that you've given us today. I wish you all the best of luck in this campaign. Hopefully you can come up to here to Northwest Georgia as we go through the year, and we'll be able to see you in person. But certainly, I appreciate the time you spent with us today. Thank you so much.
We'll look forward to doing that.
All right. Thank you.